Happy Fire Prevention Day, and welcome back to the Sandlot Cast. We are into week 6 now, I believe, in our 15th season of the Sandlot Fantasy Football League. This is the podcast about our uber competitive fantasy football league, and with me this week I have Chris Hillers, the old standby. Welcome back, Hillers. Your first one this year, man. How's it going?
Have you had other ones?
Yeah, we did the preseason one without you, I think, right?
Well,
Or was that without?
I remember announcing a wrestling match for divisions. Did that?
That was months ago. That was
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've been keeping track.
So was our other podcast, though.
Yeah, true. And the other voice, those dulcet tones you hear, is one Nicholas J. Makita. What's going on, Nick?
Hey guys, how are you? How's it going, Merrill?
Good, man.
Enjoying your last days of 37itude?
36itude. Don't you dare cut me short on that one. Yeah, no, tomorrow's 37. So, yeah. So Fire Prevention Day, guys. So I'd like to start by asking you what you do to prevent forest fires.
Not smoke.
Yeah, I don't go into the forest.
That's. I don't know what you were looking for.
That's it. That's all you guys have to give. I mean,
so far it's 100% record of success.
How do you know? How do you know, Hillers?
That I haven't spontaneously started a forest
Yes.
fire?
How do you know?
How do any of us know the answer to that question?
That is the question.
That's unknowable.
I think Troy started a forest fire once.
Probably.
You better know
like
it.
A squirrel. He really wanted to get rid of a squirrel, so he started a forest fire.
Who's Troy?
A casual arsonist.
Yeah.
Former No Trash Cougars owner, Troy Good. Yeah. All right. So
now we know what happened to the trash.
Here we are into week 6. We have kind of started establishing what our teams are this week, and this is going to be our Real Deal or No Schkapeel podcast, a tradition unlike any other, in which we go through each team, kind of evaluate how things are going for them, and we will each give an evaluation of this team is the real deal or this team has no Schkapeel.
So sit back and relax and enjoy the next 3 hours.
That's right. So, can you guys vamp for a second? I might have an issue with a child.
Vamp?
Yeah.
How does one vamp?
Vamp. Just vamp.
How does that work?
Like a vampire? Like we just stick our fangs out and try to...
You got like a vaudeville routine or something you want done here?
I think that's a Bond villain, actually.
I guess.
So like,
we're good.
Thank God.
We're good. Okay.
We're gonna have to get into Dick Tracy jokes here in a second.
Yeah, that's good. We had nothing.
He's still unconscious, so we're good.
Okay.
So anyway, we're going to start with the way it went on my sheet anyway when I look at the standings page, and we're going to start at the top with the push-ups division. And we're going to start... Oh, by the way, we didn't ever disclose what Real Deal or No Schkapeel is. We have no idea what it is.
Fairly self-explanatory.
It's...
No, I mean, I haven't. I know what it means to me.
Exactly. It's whatever you want it to mean to you. And hopefully each person who is evaluating will explain that. So we will start with the push-ups division. And at the top of that division, we find the former Peanut Butter Jelly Time team sitting here at 7-0, now owned by Cyborg Tony Romo, or now owned by Greg Roscoe, also known as Bosco, sitting at 7-0. When you say
of all the fucking things,
an ownership change might be needed for a team, who knew that this would be the thing that happened? Side note, I'm doing these historical ownership rankings, and I've got 8 seasons of records in the books here. And Brett's record as an owner, his regular season winning percentage is .352, which is by far the worst of anyone.
Sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, and Roscoe comes in and he's 7-0 with this team. So yeah. Anyway, let's get to it here. Nick, when you look at Cyborg Tony Romo here, what do you think of how Mr. Bosco has turned this team around?
Well, I mean, he's turned it around from the draft, and we always talked about this team, how everything about this guy coming in from the get-go was he made this his team, even trading away OBJ for Kamara. So, I mean, this just shows. I mean, this to say that this is Brett's team isn't even fair, because he started from scratch and just built this team up and has been running with it. I mean, the record speaks for itself. The all-play record speaks for itself. The team speaks for itself. I think that, it's It's a real deal. Like it's legit. It's a legit team. I don't like. Yeah.
Hillers?
Yeah, I would concur with that. I mean, it'd be it'd be pretty indefensible for me to sit here and say that the only undefeated team in the league is Schkapeel. I will say that it's showing how much advantage like a guy like Kamara really hitting his stride and blowing it out of the park can do for your season. You know, when you're often dealing with such slim margins of victory. And he's obviously got enough supporting cast in the likes of Robert Woods and Juju Smith-Schuster that he can support week in and week out and just, make sure that he's getting enough points to stay competitive, which is all any of us can really ask for. If I had one knock on it, I would say that it strikes me as a little bit brittle, that if something were to happen to Kamara, that the season might not look as good. He wouldn't be nearly as scary in a playoff situation, which he's almost certainly going to be in anyway.
So I'm going to jump in because you said it would be indefensible to say there's no Schkapeel with this team. Guess what?
You're going no Schkapeel?
I'm going no Schkapeel on this team.
That is indefensible. That is indefensible. Just stop talking.
It'll become more indefensible when we find out who.
Well, then, allow me to retort.
Yes.
It's funny you say it's something that should happen to Alvin Kamara. Well, something did happen to Alvin Kamara this week, and that thing's name is Mark Ingram, who came in, and Alvin Kamara only had 9 touches for 39 yards in the game when Mark Ingram came back. So that kind of hurt a little bit. Now you say, well, that's fine. He's probably got other running backs, right? No, he doesn't.
No, he does not.
He does not have any other running backs. And then you're like, okay, well, that's fine. His wide receiving core is probably really good, right? And it's like, well, I mean, he's got Juju, who's been really good, and Robert Woods, who's been pretty good. But after that's really it. So I say, who's your flex player if you're this team? Right. And then Matt Ryan's been great. Don't get me wrong on that, and George Kittle's been fine. But the core of this team is shaky at best, and I think this team is in for a major fall in the second half. I think this team is going to go on a bad run, and it's impressive what he's done, and he might even make the playoffs. But I don't think this is a team that's going to make a run.
He only needs to win 2 more games, if history shows.
Three would pretty much guarantee it.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, 2 is the minimum. 3 probably guarantees it. I wouldn't be surprised if this team didn't get 3 more wins. I'm going to say that right now.
Right.
Well, also, you look at his schedule. Look, he has the second fewest points against in the league. So, like, he won this week. He scored the team playing him scored 80 points this week, and he won. He had a bad week, and he still won. So, no Schkapeel here for me on Cyborg Tony Romo. Yeah, eat it, Bosco. Coming for you.
2 against 1. 2 against 1.
Yeah.
He's a real deal. You lose.
1 right, 2 wrong. EBS is our next team. They find themselves at 5-2. EBS has put up a lot of points this year, mostly due to their stellar wide receivers. And Hillers, we'll start with you here on Anthony's team. Real deal or no Schkapeel here?
I mean, for me, and so I should explain that for me, if I am saying a real deal, that means I think that this is a playoff team. All right, not that they're necessarily the best or worst. If there was, I think, a 6th team for me that was real deal, it would be EBS. But he's just fallen outside that for me. I think this is like wild card contender here. My sort of rough looking at it benchmark for how many really good players do you have on your team is who's sort of in that 90 to 100 plus range of points, as like who's done well thus far. And he does have a bunch of those guys. But with one quarterback and, kind of a really shaky running back core that has not been helped by the fact that Jay Ajayi is now out for the season. He's really banking totally on Antonio Brown and Michael Thomas, which you could do worse. I think he will still win, plenty of games with the folks that he has here, but it's just not quite enough for me to say that this is a top 5 team in the league right now.
Nick?
I disagree. I think that again, my definition is this a good team? Like, could this be a playoff team? We're 5 weeks into the season, into the NFL season. Like NFL teams are just now starting to hit their stride. So we've started to get a better idea of who these players are now. I think that's what I've noticed, in the past 2 seasons of the NFL, particularly, is that it takes a couple of weeks for teams to actually show who they are and for players to actually hit their stride. That you can't overreact to players and to what's going on the first 3-4 weeks of the season because teams haven't figured themselves out yet. So I think that as the season goes a little bit longer, like right now, we're hitting that point where teams are going to start to identify themselves. So teams so fantasy teams that started off to a hot start or a slow start can balance out now. So with that being said, I think that this is a legitimate playoff team. Wild card playoff, it doesn't matter, or division winner, it doesn't matter. You're a playoff team. I think that between James White plus Joe Mixon, Bilal Powell, Matt Breida when he gets healthy, because all indications are saying that he's not that hurt. He might miss a week or two. But his wide receiving core, you can start any three of those and be fine with it. Golden Tate, Michael Thomas, Antonio Brown, and then be like, oh, I'll throw Ken Stills in this week, who just might do something for you. Like, I think top to bottom, this seems pretty good. Like, I got excited when I heard that Breida and Ajayi were out. I was like, sweet. That means that there's going to be players available. Anthony's going down. Maybe there's another spot opening up in the playoff race. There's not. Anthony's team is still fine.
Yeah.
I will say James White seems to be one of the biggest recipients of the PPR point transition, maybe in the league.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, for him to only go for $7 was criminal. But no, so you would say real deal, Nick, I guess?
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Nick, on this one. I mean, this team is one of the deepest in the league. I mean, yeah, sure, he lost Jay Ajayi for the season, but Ajayi's been kind of hit or miss this season. He's been his worst running back so far. I mean, he's still got 4 deep after Ajayi, and any of these guys you could plug in. You say, Bilal Powell, he sucks. Yeah, he whatever. He's a plotter. He's 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but he's never had less than 7 points in a game, which isn't what you're looking for. But if you need to plug somebody, but if you need to plug somebody in like a bad bye week or a flex or something, like things go bad, like he's a guy you can plug in, and he's at least gonna get the ball a little bit. He might stumble into the end zone or something. Combine that with the fact that I think this team has the best wide receivers in the league, number 1 and 2 anyway, between Michael Thomas and Antonio Brown. It's ridiculous. Like that is a terrifying wide receiver core. And you said, well, beyond that, it's not great. Well, he's got Golden Tate sitting there, who's 7 points behind Antonio Brown. Okay, let's not forget how good Golden Tate is in this. And even Dede Westbrook and Kenny Stills, these are all guys still I say you can plug in flex play. Like, these are all guys, if you have to play them in your lineup, they're not the most ideal guys in the world, but these are guys you can plug in and say, okay, I can roll with these guys if I have to for a week or two, right? Like, until I make something happen. So I think this team's really good. If there is a bad one, obviously, yeah, Ajayi and Breida with the ankle sprain. Breida's been banged up quite a bit. But I think this is the best team in this division, so I think this is the real deal. Also, let's not forget Andrew Luck is probably getting a little more comfortable every week. I mean, it's been a while since he had played games coming into the year, and I think as the year goes on, Andrew Luck's going to get a little better and better every week. So
well, and Andy's been having a lot of receiver health issues too. So
yeah,
as those guys come back, that outlook could change.
Right. So no, I'm going to say real deal here, mainly because I think this team wins this division because of my non-belief in Cyborg Tony Romo. All right, next team, Touchdown Jesus. This is where the division flips. Oh no, Duplex, sorry, is the next team. Duplex is at 3-4 in the division. Dave came in. I don't think he loved his draft. I know Hillers, you probably talked to him more about it than I have, but I don't think
his draft. No.
Yeah. Oh no.
Not really.
He drafted your team. You didn't talk to him about the draft at all?
I talked to him about my team.
Oh.
I don't care about his team.
How magnanimous of you. So Dave comes in at 3-4, duplex of mediocrity. So I'm doing this owner history thing, right? The spreadsheet I sent out to everybody, and I managed to come up with 8 seasons of like I said, 8 seasons of regular season records. Guess what Dave's record is over 8 seasons?
It's got to be pretty good. It's got 3 titles.
Duplex of mediocrity. Guess what his record is?
Oh, like win record for the season?
Yeah.
Overall? I don't know.
Like a percentage, right? He's 500. He's exactly 500.
I was going to say it's going to be like about half.
It's exactly
no,
500.
You just got done saying it's pretty good. He's won 3 titles. It's got to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's half.
Yeah. So
No, but I mean, it's like because his teams every time he won one of those titles, every year me and everybody were saying, I don't know, seems
Yes.
fine, I guess.
That's exactly
Whatever.
right.
Not really loving any of this.
Yeah.
But
and then
but
he wins the damn
I
title. Yeah.
assumed with all those titles that would have to be,
Usually stomped on my
good.
head on his way to the title too. But
yeah,
but
deliciously.
yeah. And but yeah, so now that said, I'm still looking for data, guys. I've only got 8 of our 15 seasons in here. So I'm still looking for data on the other 7 seasons. If somehow you guys have that regular season record somewhere, please send them to me.
Sure, I can look.
I don't know, but anyway, let's jump to you, Nick. When you look at the duplex here, what do you think of Dave's team?
I think that he is living up to his historical accuracy, and he is a 500 team. I don't think that there's anything on this team that is necessarily exciting. Jared Goff is good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's
That guy can ball a little bit.
It's like everybody's got that 115-point quarterback, right? Like that's about it, I mean,
like that's it. I mean,
Not everybody.
like there's just nothing that I think I like Fuller. Like, and so here's the thing: is that as he's going to have some pieces that he's either going to build on or be able to trade, because I think that as the season goes on, Corey Davis is going to become a much bigger. Is going to exponentially grow more and more involved in the offense. Will Fuller is Watson's favorite target. Like, so, it's that Houston offense is crazy.
Brad Watson?
For some reason. Yeah, Brad Watson. I think his team has pieces. There's just not enough pieces to string together anything that's going to make his team any kind of a contender. So he can start building for next year, but there's nothing really, I don't know.
Who's he going to trade?
Yeah. So you say no Schkapeel then?
I say no Schkapeel.
Hillers?
Or yeah.
I'll add in the no Schkapeel verdict as well. There's nothing very exciting here, and if the Green Bay passing game really gets a little bit better, if Rodgers gets a little bit healthier, I don't even know if you can expect Devontae Adams to maintain production as he has. I think guys like Geronimo Allison might start taking some of those from him, but that's about all he's got is Devontae Adams. Even if he stays perfectly good as a receiver, who's his running back here? I mean, this is hard to look at. To say it's like you're really hoping that Marshawn Lynch carries your season here, and he has been having good games, but it's not often going to be enough. And I'm just not seeing really enough superstars to make up for all the scrubs here. And I think Nick sort of hit on it, that what you're hoping for this team is speculative. There's nothing really to suggest that that's how it's, that these guys are really just on the cusp or just now getting good. It's just they're in a position wherein at some point they might become good.
So
until then, what do you do?
Well, so I'll jump in and I'll say, take another look at this team and look at how young it is. Look at how many cheap young guys Dave has on this team. Like between Jared Goff, Nick Chubb, Kenny Drake, Alex Collins even. But then you look at receivers. You got Corey Davis, Will Fuller, DJ Moore, David and Joe. Like these are all young, cheap players that all might break to be great keepers next year. Like we talk about building for next year. I think Dave's already started it. Like I don't know if this is a conscious decision he made in the draft or not. But I'm going to say no Schkapeel for this year, but I already love this team for next year. Like, I think the amount of volume in potential keepers he has on this team is probably...
Some of them got to pan out.
Who are his keepers right now? I mean, in week 6. Like, who are his keepers right now?
I mean, take your pick. So I would go Goff, Chubb...
you would give Chubb for $21.
Yeah, because I think he'll be
almost as many dollars as
what is Hyde's contract status? That's the question. I don't know. So, like, if Hyde's not there next year, then yeah, Chubb's obviously that guy. But then you've got
Hyde was a free agent, so they probably.
Let's not forget he's got Devontae Adams for 18 next year. Then he's got Corey Davis, Will Fuller, and DJ Moore all for 20 or under. I mean, there's a lot of young talent here that could really pan out.
Carlos Hyde has a 3-year deal right now.
Yeah, so maybe he will be there next year. I'm a Carlos Hyde guy, so I think he's a really strong running back. But at some point you got to take shots on rookies, and
You can't be a Hyde guy and a Chubb guy. You're gonna have to pick.
no, I choose Hyde, but
Okay.
but Hyde was gone, so Nick took Chubb, and he's got to hope, that's the guy. So I say no Schkapeel this year. I think Nick's got probably the best young stable of keepers here. Who did I say?
Nick.
So I'll say Dave. Dave then has the best young stable of keepers here of any team right now. So I like his team for the future.
All right.
Touchdown Jesus, next team. 2-5 right now. Pritchard's one of our most successful owners that we've had. As going back through history and looking at records and everything, he's been one of the best. So, but right now he finds himself in a pretty tough spot, and I know he didn't love where he was at the end of the draft. He didn't even love where he was halfway through the draft this year. So, Hillers, we'll start with you on Pritchard. What do you think of this team?
Yeah. Well, you look at 2-5 teams, and I look at Touchdown Jesus and say, yeah, this seems pretty familiar to me. A lineup where things could happen, but right now it's kind of like everywhere you look. I mean, I think he has good reason to be happy with Tyreek Hill at $7. I think that's something that you can sort of hang your hat on. But I don't think the Phillip Lindsay situation panned out like he was hoping it might after week 1. And I wouldn't want to be involved in the Seattle running game right now. And that's at a sub 50-point running back.
Can I jump back to the Phillip Lindsay thing? What do you think changed about that? Because he's gone 18-12 to 15-11.
Yeah, and I think for that to, and it's a great waiver wire pickup. I'm not suggesting that it wasn't a good pickup, but I think to pull this team far enough up to be successful, it would have had to have been, closer to like James Conner, Todd Gurley levels of good. And it's not that.
Well, you can't get that off waivers, but yeah.
I mean, sometimes you can.
Sometimes
if you get it, the first week or so, but and pay a bunch of money. Sometimes that's legit, but not quite there yet. So I mean, this team right now is banking on Tyreek Hill doing really good, and everybody else just putting up enough points to get over whoever his opponent that is that week. So I don't think that's a strategy that can get you to the playoffs, especially now when you start in a big hole like this. So it'd be no Schkapeel for me.
Have you noticed that, for those of you following along at home, that there is a point threshold that Hillers will acknowledge is an elite player? If you are below that threshold, it doesn't matter. You are not considered elite. So someone like Emmanuel Sanders is not going to help carry TDJ because he is not above 90 points.
I mean, that's a perfectly good number 2 wide receiver, but it's not enough.
It's 2 points a week so far.
Oh, so this is a real deal team for you? Is that
no? I'm just saying that you say like, oh, well, Tyreek Hill can carry this team, but Emmanuel Sanders, he's not worth mentioning.
I forgot to mention Emmanuel Sanders.
You also forgot to mention like someone like Golden Tate on Anthony's team. Like, oh, well, he's not above this point, so it doesn't.
Well, only because there were so many other stars. I definitely.
With that being okay,
Golden Tate, and Brown, and Thomas were not his 1 and 2.
If Golden Tate were on this team, he'd be mentioned.
Yeah, he'd be mentioned as a star, a rising star for sure.
Hey, Pritchard, how do you like that it's your team that we're talking about, and instead we're talking about Anthony's team?
Yeah, let's go back to the team that's
let's go back to Anthony's team. I think
pile of gross.
Yeah, it's just rough. It's just an example of it's like Tyreek Hill's great.
He is.
Emmanuel Sanders. I think that he has some pieces that Emmanuel Sanders is someone that he can potentially trade going off into the future to try to build some pieces up. I mean, you took some big swings and missed on just some of those players. Like,
I think a 31-year-old $19 Emmanuel Sanders is not going to get as much back in trades as you might think.
He's the number 1 target, and him and Keenum have Sanders is Keenum's number 1 target. He's better than Thomas.
Yes.
So, who on your team would you offer for him? Let's put this into real terms.
I would offer just about anyone on my team. Well, just about anyone. Anyone that's on my trade block for Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, your team's pretty bad too. That's maybe.
No, I mean it's just like I would take. He's the number 1 receiver. Like in hindsight, looking.
You keep moving the goalposts, Hillers. I mean, come on, man. Make an argument. Make a stand.
I mean, no. Yeah, no. Emmanuel Sanders is the number 1 target. I would rather have had him than I should have gone to Pritchard and said, "Hey, I'll give you, Alfred Morris." I should have gone to trying to get Emmanuel Sanders versus Demaryius. I'd rather have Emmanuel Sanders than Demaryius Thomas.
You have it from the horse's mouth, Pritchard. Send those trade offers.
Yeah, I don't think he will. He's not going to send Emmanuel Sanders or Demaryius Thomas because that'd be dumb right now because Emmanuel Sanders is better.
No, but I mean, nothing that I have
and
would
cheaper.
Trade, like I would trade. Yeah, I mean, if I was in a position like right now, if I was in a different position, I would trade. I would consider trading like Fournette for Sanders. Like,
yeah. So what do you say, Nick? Real deal or no Schkapeel here?
I mean, it's a no Schkapeel, but I mean, it's yeah. Sorry, Mike. I mean, yeah, you know why, Mike. You know why, Pritchard.
Yeah, he knows. So I will say, like, this is the one team I think you look at, and there's not a single 100-point scorer on it. I don't know that that's the case with any other team. But there's like Cam Newton had a bye, so if he didn't have that bye, like he'd be over 100. So that, that's a weird threshold to throw out there. But I will say that Mike Davis looks like he's made some solid free agent pickups. Whether it's Philip Lindsay, Mike Davis, Quincy Enunwa. Jared Cook, I think he picked up. I mean, these are all guys who are...
The guy's working. He's working. He's doing what he can.
Yeah, like these are all guys who have proven to have a lot of value. So, I like that a lot.
LaShawn McCoy really screwed him this year.
And Tyreek Hill, my God, that guy, like his Twitter handle is faster than ya, and I don't care who ya are, he's faster than
Probably
ya.
right.
He's absolutely faster than ya. Like, do you guys believe in Jared Cook, by the way? Like, is this the year?
Nah, I after like a couple of years of people saying about any player, this time it's for real, and then it's not. Like the third, fool me 3 or 4 times, shame on me. You know what I mean?
So no, Nick, you believing in Jared Cook at all?
More so than normal, I think.
More so than normal.
But that doesn't. I mean, that's like in the grand scheme of things, like it's.
I love that answer.
Like I'm looking at it to figure out.
Is that a yes? Like, I'm not sure.
More so than normal. I mean, 81 points for a tight end.
Yeah, but it's like it's coming from 2 games. Like
it's a very hit or miss guy though, for sure.
60 of those points are coming from 2 games.
Yeah,
so.
But the other games he had 8, 8, and 6. Which, when you look at the tight end landscape in this league, that's fine. Like that's. Yeah. I mean, it's a wasteland right now. It is terrible.
What's he, like the second or third best tight end right now?
If not the best.
I was never a Jared Cook guy ever. Like, it's not that I was ever had anything against him, but like it was never. Jared Cook was never on my radar of someone that I followed, so I don't know what your question means.
Yeah,
you managed to
next
get
team.
some idiot
so
to give you
I'll throw in I'll throw in no Schkapeel as well. I will say, like, the free agent moves. I think he's had the best free agent moves of any owner. This year by far, but I think his draft just went so poorly that it's not enough, and we'll see. Also, his kicker's name is Butker, which you're just screwed when that happens. So
all he needs is Jake Butt as his tight end.
Yeah, somebody did draft. Who drafted Jake Butt? Somebody had him. Right. Hey, this guy's got major running back issues. Like, how many of these running backs are you comfortable starting on a week-to-week basis? Honestly,
zero amount.
Like, there's none. I mean, it's brutal. Like, there's not. Yeah. So anyway, sorry, Pritchard.
We're in your draft.
Not your year. Yeah, you hosted an awesome draft. You have a lovely home and a lovely family, and we appreciate it. But your team.
What can you say about this team? He has a lovely family.
Your team blows. Yeah. But no, man. Hey, he's got a championship. I don't. So what the hell am I talking about? All right, let's jump to the sit-ups division. Hitmen, first team at 4-3, the best team in the division at 4-3. We'll jump to
the previous podcast. These terrible division names.
Yeah, they're brutal. I don't know who named them.
Way to mail it in.
Yeah,
it was a thing, and if you didn't listen to the podcast, then you clearly didn't listen to the podcast because we went over it.
I told you that I did.
Nick, you were up first on the Hitmen.
Oh wow, okay. They are a dumpster fire. Yeah, you can change your logo. You're a dumpster fire.
You have a lovely family.
Yeah, I mean it's. I think it's too early to tell, and I feel like this division is still kind of wide open. Like, as bad as that sounds, I mean, you're 2 games up. You're only 2 games up on on us in the division. Like, it's right. The division is still.
I'm not asking about the division. I'm asking about the Hitmen.
No, I know.
You're in the division, and you're at the bottom of it. I know it's not over yet.
I know what I am. I know what I am.
You're only 2 games back. I understand that.
Pass. Hillers go.
I think you're being a little tough on Mike. I think he has good starters in every position, and
Yes.
with that sort of depth, it makes it more likely over time that you're going to come out with a winning record. He hasn't gotten into a massive hole like he sometimes does. He hasn't killed all his players like he sometimes does. His trade today was pretty speculative, but it was a team that could afford to make a trade like that without breaking his roster. So I think overall this is going to be a winning team. This is if I'm saying real deal is a 5-team threshold for me. I think this is probably team number 5 for me right now. It's Aaron Rodgers, perfectly good starting quarterback. Kareem Hunt, Christian McCaffrey. I would start those guys. Adam Thielen is ripping it up. It's like, so I feel like, I don't know if we're gonna see a lot of games from like Eric Ebron like we saw this last week.
What? What are you talking about? He's the most reliable player in the NFL.
Yeah, but so far everything looks to be kind of hitting for him, and with this sort of consistency across positions, it makes me feel good about a team's prospects.
I don't disagree with your analysis. I think that you are pretty spot on that, and I think that this trade actually isn't speculative at all. Anytime you can trade Ben Roethlisberger and a ham sandwich and get Dalvin Cook, I think you're okay.
Ham sandwich has 3 times as many points as Dalvin Cook, but whatever.
and is what 10% as expensive. So
I have to get the right kind of ham. No,
and only 2 years older. So
that's
let's not
some
forget
delicious honey boar's head ham sandwich.
Yeah.
Extra.
No, I think it's
that's a Taylor ham sandwich right there.
I mean, yeah, I do agree. I think that it does, and I think that the unspoken thing here is that you do have one of the top defenses in the league in the Bears, and needless, that's something that you don't have to worry about. That they do have a really good defense, and that Khalil Mack trade is paying off craziness for the Bears right now. So that's helping you immensely in that. So good pick up on that. Yeah, no, Eric Ebron's not going to do that all the time, but whatever. Everyone has their blow up games. Adam Thielen's killing it. Yeah, this seems legit. Real deal. And Dalvin Cook actually just solidifies your running back core just to have that guy because he's going to turn on it.
Yeah, I mean that was a trade, and so we'll jump into that. Like that was a big topic of today, right? Was that trade? So Hillers and I were talking. I basically listed all the players. I was like, hey man, here's all the guys that I'd be looking to deal, and Hillers sent me, that offer. He's like, how about this? And I said, yeah.
Yeah.
Do I think I got
done in about 3 minutes?
Do I think I got the better end of it? Yeah, but does Hillers think he got the better end of it? Yeah. So it's like
that's how trades work.
Nobody accepts trades they're around thinking they're getting the better end of. Like it's but it's all about what your goal is in the trade, right? So, so I like that. I think I'm at least 4 deep in running back right now. I've got Ronald Jones as like my whatever guy. Like maybe he pans out. But I feel like I'm 4 deep at running back. I'm 4 deep at receiver. And then I'm 2 deep at quarterback. Like I feel like I have a legit team where I can really start. I have a lot of options on guys I can start. And I have clear starters in weeks that I don't know. Like I feel like I have.
Who's your fourth running back in your 4 deep scenario here?
Well, I think it's theoretic.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't love it, but
you can think what you want to think.
Yeah, I don't love it, but he's a guy who gets. I mean, 4.3 is his lowest points, but he's had 8, 13, 6, and 6. Like he's a guy who
a couple of 6s in there too. So
who you can plug in, and at that point, he's basically my flex guy, right? That week, if I have to plug him in and get that, so I don't know. I don't.
Flex. I mean,
it's not as good as your flex, but
I named you real deal. I don't need to harp on whether Theo Riddick is a legit flex guy. He's obviously not, but that's not the point.
I mean, I know it's crazy to rely on Lions running backs, and I know you would never do such a thing, Hillers. But I feel like I've got a guy who is guaranteed points every week. So there's that. But anyway, yeah, no, I like my team. I think the breakdown is a pretty good evaluator of where your team is, and I'm up there in that. So I don't know. I'm weirdly confident in my team, and that's usually when things go horribly wrong. So I'll say real deal, and let's move on to the Choops. Choops are 4-3. They are. JD has worked himself into like a really solid. I think JD is like the new Dave. I feel like almost like he's got these guys where, like he's got this team where it's like they're all like, yeah, okay, all right, all right.
Sorry, Dave, still in the league.
Like there's sorry, Dave, you've been replaced. But he's like this new team where it's like oh yeah, I kind of like this team. It's like I'm not terrified of anybody on this team, but I look at everybody on the team. I'm like, yeah, I see it. Okay, yeah, I'm good. Okay, so Nick, since you passed on your first turn last time, I think we'll go to you first for the Choops.
Okay, I still think this team's a no deal. I think that it's just things are just broken for him in a lucky way. So far to get to 4 wins, I think that he could very easily be down there at the bottom. Like, if there's just nothing special about this team that, like you said, like there's nothing flashy about this team, but there's really just nothing. Like the nothing that jumps out at you that's crazy awesome. Like at all. Like I mean, when you look at it, TJ Yeldon's your guy. Like, yeah, I get it. He's maximizing his opportunity right now with Fournette. But best case scenario, if Fournette comes back, you're looking at a guy who's he's gonna no longer be the guy.
Committee
he's gonna be
time.
splitting. He's gonna be committee ties. I mean, the Jaguars have already signed Jamal Charles to a deal. So Yeldon's time.
Come on, that's not a thing that's gonna matter. Come on,
it's going to be. I mean, who knows?
Whatever. Tell that to Adrian Peterson, man. Things happen.
Yeah, things happen. I mean,
sure.
Tyler Boyd's his wide receivers are good. Like I like his wide receivers. Boyd, Cooks, Diggs. They're legit. Like they are good. I just don't think that they are enough. They're not that caliber of wide receivers to be able to carry this team to make up for its other things. So it's a no Schkapeel, probably like the rest of this division.
Hillers.
Yeah, I gotta sort of agree with Nick. I mean, this is not a top 5 team. This isn't really all that close to being a top 5 team for me. When Fournette comes back, that's a problem. The Redskins running back situation is always a mess. The wide receivers are perfectly good, very solid. And what the hell, Zach Ertz? I mean, wow, very impressive. But
that was last year is when that started happening, by the way.
Okay, well,
you were checked out at that point, but we understand.
Yeah, but I let's say I wouldn't have expected him to be like the top tight end, especially with how bad Philly as a team is doing. But he is. But I don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah, I mean he's kind of their top target, right? Because they haven't really had anybody else to throw to. So
right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you said the Eagles are abysmal and Zach Ertz is the top tight end, I would have been like, that seems unlikely, but that's what's going on.
Yeah.
But I don't think that the tight end wide receiver situation is going to be quite enough to drag him out of a pretty rough running back situation and a sort of mediocre quarterback outing here. So
So no Schkapeel. I'm going to say real deal. I think this team is resilient and deep enough to power through an entire season and kind of beat some of these teams who are propped up on false hopes. I think for one, Tom Brady, who finally has Gronk and Edelman back for the first time in like how many games? Nick, is it? It's been like since 2013 since that's happened.
It was like November of 2016. That
Yeah.
both of them.
So I think he's only going to score more points. And you look at his running backs. It's like he didn't have Devontae Freeman for the first however many weeks, and now Devontae Freeman's finally healthy, and that's his guy. That's his number one guy, and so that's why his points are so low. But now he's back. He's ready to go. So that's the right time for that to happen. So sure, TJ Yeldon might only be good for another week or two, but he's got Freeman checking in, and then he's got Carson, who is Seattle's number one guy. I mean, he's pretty deep at running back when you look at it. These are all guys who you can plug in. Again, like it's they're not guys you love, but these guys you can plug in who are going to get you some points, especially when you consider this wide receiving core, which is maybe the deepest in the league. I mean, Tyler Boyd has been ridiculous this year. This guy, click on his name and look at his points. And let me ask you this. You look at his points. Is Tyler Boyd better than A.J. Green now? Which Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver would you rather have in a PPR league the rest of the year? Tyler Boyd or A.J. Green?
A.J. Green.
Yeah, me too.
Do you want to put a board? Do you want to make a board bet? Do you want to make a board bet?
Next year,
Where's
I
what does AJ Green have? Where's Hillers?
94.
94 versus
What he's
81.
offering is the consistency. It's not like a good week, bad week. for
I'll take
AJ
Tyler
Green. It's
Boyd.
always-
I think
I
Tyler
agree.
Boyd will have more points the rest of the year than AJ Green.
Starting from week 6 on.
I think Tyler Boyd will have more points this season than AJ Green.
I think AJ Green has more points than Tyler Boyd this season.
Put it on the board.
Watch that.
I don't know what we're betting. What are we betting? Everybody
That's
bets
a board bet.
$50
Work it
bottles
out.
of vodka, but we should bet like a we should bet a drink bitch on the podcast. Whoever wins gets to tell the other one to
Here, I'll
drink.
go get- Oh no. At the draft maybe.
Oh yeah, beer bitch at the draft. We'll do that. How about that? Done. Anthony, put it in the book.
Glad that's settled.
Go, that's settled. All right. This is why. Yeah. Anyway, but I mean, Sterling Shepard, Stephon Diggs, like these are all solid receivers, and then Zach Ertz is basically the top tight end you want to have this year. I think this team's here to stay. Like I said, it's not a team you look at and you're scared of, but that's what sneaks up on you because they put out points every week. Like it's not like they put out a ton of points, but they're gonna put out their floor is high. Is why I like this team.
You make some decent points about the running back core. It's recoverable.
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't know.
That's
if I
like the
believe
greatest compliment you've ever given me on this podcast, Ellis, I want to say.
recover. Oh, well, let's go back to slamming your team then.
So I'll say real deal. Let's go to Patty. Patty Van Winkle, sitting at 2-5. Again, we go to owners. I mean, we talked about what when Roscoe took over for Brett, what happened to that team, and now we look at what happened to the Sex Cannon / Patty Van Winkle when Patty took over Evan's team, and it's like complete opposites. Now I will say the weird thing about last year is Patty was actually the highest scoring team last year in the regular season. He actually scored more points than any other team in the league, and he finished at 8-8. So I'd have been effing furious if I were him. So
Pretty rough.
he put together a good squad, but it just didn't work out, and he's kind of running into that again this year. But he finds himself at 2-5. We're early in the year; he can still dig out of it. So Hillers, when you look at Patty's team, what do you see?
I see a team where there's some potential here, and not all of my. I wouldn't say that about all of my 2-5 brethren. But a guy like Julio Jones is a guy you can start to build a squad around. There's certainly nothing wrong.
Start to build a squad around.
You can start to build a squad on Julio Jones.
It's that kind of analysis you come to the Sandlot Cast for, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm not seeing a lot of guys here that are like piquing my interest in a huge way. When your best thing that you have to offer in your running back situation is Carlos Hyde, I would not be comfortable with that if I was the owner of this team, and there's nothing wrong with Drew Brees and, having the passing record and stuff there. But after you get past Julio Jones on the wide receiver side, it's a fairly precipitous drop to Jarvis Landry. I mean, there's just too much Cleveland here for me to feel like, yeah, this is safe. This will be fine week in and week out. And
That's a fair point.
Gives me pause about the squad is that the precipitous drop in quality of the backups and the not amazing start in quality from what you're starting at sometimes.
See, I disagree. I think that
So no Schkapeel?
No Schkapeel. Near the bottom of the league for me, I gotta say.
See, I'm still thinking this. I'm gonna say that Patty's a real deal. Like he's still in the top 5-ish.
What do you got? 8 real deal teams.
It's a playoff team. I think that any 4 of the teams from again, like I said, like I led this off. Any 4 of these teams can just put it together and start making a run, and suddenly be fighting for the division. They were like I said, last place is only 2 games out at 2-5 right now of this division. That's not hard to come back from.
That's a week 7 good run. I mean, that's all it is.
I mean, that's all that is. I mean, hell, this could be an 8-8 team winning the division, and that's all it takes to be a playoff contender if that's what we're talking about. So, yeah, I think that Patty is a contender. It's Julio Jones, it's Jarvis Landry, who is PPR league again. We're gonna see what Baker Mayfield can do. He had a tough matchup last weekend against the Ravens, but I think Jarvis Landry's fine. And Hillers wants to gloss over his running back, saying like, "Oh, well, it's just Adrian Peterson." And
yeah, it's not.
No. But it's not. It's Aaron Jones, who's been back for 1 game now, 2 games, It's Aaron Jones who has 3 games, under his belt, and they're still trying to figure out. He's still trying to get his running legs under him. It's Adrian Peterson.
Well, and
who's
they went
still
down so
Adrian
fast
Peterson.
against Detroit that he's not the guy you bring in when you're down by
Yeah.
24-0 at the half, right? So
It's Carlos Hyde. It's Carlos Hyde. I mean, his entire running back core is fine, and you want to gloss over, he only has 46 points, so I'm not going to look at him. Sony Michel. Sony Michel is the guy in New England, and New England constantly has solid runners.
That's James White.
No, it's New England. If you look at the running backs from New
not
England,
mutually exclusive.
Yeah, it's
True.
New England's always had solid running backs. It's just you could never trust which ones were going to run. Which you couldn't never trust which one was going to.
So Nick, let me ask you this: how many running backs were on the roster in their last game that they played?
2.
2 is the answer.
3 if you count Devlin. Yeah.
No, it was James White and it was
Sony
Michel, and that was it.
Yeah, I don't even think New England has another running back right now. Like
they don't.
They just signed something. So yeah, I think Sony is again. So he's fine. He's fine. He has Drew friggin' Brees. Whatever.
Yeah,
whatever. He's fine. This is a real deal. This team just needs to get a couple more.
I agree. I want to find something to not like about this team, but I look at it and I can't. There's again, this is another team that's just solid, top to bottom. It's Drew Brees, one of the top quarterback, and then you've got he's pretty deep. Lamar Miller's been terrible. Don't get me wrong, and he's going to ride Adrian Peterson as long as he can. Turns out the shoulder injury he had is not serious, and I think he's going to be fine. But yeah, he's got Carlos Hyde and Sony Michel, and then Aaron Jones is only going to get better, I feel like, throughout the year. This team is deep. Jimmy Graham is one of the unwashed masses of tight ends that people have. You're just hoping for a touchdown every week, whatever. That's fine. It's the same as every other tight end out there, right? He is what he is, but he's another team. He's just been unlucky with schedules. So he should be near 500 based on his all play record, and he's sitting at 2-5. I feel like things are eventually going to turn around for Patty. But I feel like he's 4 deep at wide receiver, 3 deep or 3 deep at wide receiver, 4 deep at running back. He's obviously 2 deep at QB. I'm going to say real deal for this team. I think it makes a turnaround and makes a run. So let's jump to. What do you mean?
Do you think his team ends up higher than your team? Do you think this is?
I think it could. Sure. I think it might. That's why I say real deal. I think it has a chance to do that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, chances. So you guys end up with 8 real deal teams.
I have 6 real deal teams.
Okay.
Nitty Gritties is the next team, and we're going to start with Nick on this one. Sorry, Hillers, we're skipping you on the start here because what the hell is with the name change?
I feel like that's the embodiment that I'm taking on right now. My team's just going to be nitty gritty. I'm just going to be scraping and scrapping and just trying everything I can to try to eke out a win until I'm completely out of it. So I'm just going to be really just in the dirt, just fighting any way I can to try to salvage what I can of this season.
I appreciate the nominal effort that you've thrown in there.
I am.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
Given that the Flyers' new logo is gritty.
That thing is horrifying.
Yeah. So the first thing that I saw when I saw the name, it was like, oh, if I can do an image search for the term nitty gritty and come up with this thing doing something football related, that's my new logo. And sure enough, here he is playing football against the Eagles. So.
God.
So Hillers, it's gonna be you and I who start this off here. We'll start with you, buddy. When you look at Nick's team here, what are you thinking?
Ugh. I'm kind of surprised at the success of Kenny Golladay, and I don't see any reason why it wouldn't continue. I guess he's getting lots of targets, and that's what you want to see in a PPR league. After that, I don't know where I really start talking about the wide receiver core here. And if you're talking about drop-offs, after one Zeke Elliott, things become downright post-apocalyptic for this running back situation here. Congrats to you, Nick, for getting some idiot to hand you Travis Kelce for nothing. That was a great.
Not like nothing, literally nothing.
Literally nothing. No, he gave me something. I didn't keep it.
Yeah.
But that was a very savvy move. So you got that locked down. That's a keeper for you. But this team isn't going to make the playoffs. There's not enough here. It's too brittle. And I appreciate your scrappiness, but it's not enough to beat the likes of like Andy or Watson.
He doesn't have to beat Andy.
Grimes.
He doesn't have to beat Watson. He doesn't have to beat Grimes.
These are playoff caliber teams to my mind, and I'm not grouping.
He doesn't have to beat those teams to get to the playoffs.
That's what a good team looks like. This is not what this is.
So what's your real deal, no Schkapeel? I thought it was like teams that could make the playoffs.
No, teams that will be in the playoffs. So 5 teams.
Well, you just listed 3 teams that he doesn't have to beat to get to the playoffs.
As examples of good teams and what they look like. And this
you're getting into a logic battle with them.
I know it's a mistake.
No, it's a simile.
Like a land war in Asia.
Read a book. It's called a simile. So. Okay, so I'm sure you'll come up with some highly speculative reason why this team will also be
so no deal is your thing.
No deal.
All
yes,
right.
Obviously no deal.
I'm also gonna say no Schkapeel is actually what it's called. What I will say, I'll start with the good here, Nick. I think your running back pickups have been pretty spot on here, among the best in the league. I think I said somebody else earlier in the podcast. I can't remember who was a little better. I think maybe Pritchard. But you picked up Alfred Morris and you picked up Gio Bernard, who were really solid pickups when you got him off the free agent wire. Gio got hurt, unfortunately for you, so that didn't help too much. But Morris looks to be a guy, especially with Breida getting banged up week to week, might be a guy who you can plug in as your wide receiver too, who's really like, I know he's your running back too, who's really your running back too, but he's kind of your flex when you look at your receiving core. It's more really your flex. So Alfred Morris as your flex is kind of fine. So you got to find another running back somewhere if you're going to make a run at this. But I will say your Kenny Golladay is a receiver I think you're going to be able to keep for years. He looks like the guy you want to have in Detroit for the next. Yeah, I mean for the next 4, 5, 6 years. He's the number 1 target now. He's the guy you want there. And that was a solid get for $3. That's awesome. Julian Edelman now back. You didn't have him for the first 4 weeks, so now you've got another guy who was one of the top targets in New England. 12 points his first week. He's not a guy who's going to score you 30, but he is a guy who's going to give you reliable points every week. So I like that. And Demaryius Thomas, maybe that turns around for you. But top 10 inning Kelsey. Maybe if it goes bad, that's the guy you try to deal to get another keeper down the road. But the bad, your RB, your running back reliability, obviously not great, especially considering the Fournette issues. Man, that guy, you got to be going nuts about Fournette. Like that guy is just not panned out. Unfortunately, he's been so banged up. I guess last year he only missed like a game or two, but it just hasn't panned out for you this year. So, what do you think, man? Where your team's at right now? What's your mindset?
Right, so I'm going to say real deal because of how close the division is. I'm going to say that my team can be a playoff team. I think that I had it worked out and I could have written this down while you guys were talking shit about my team. Through the first 4 weeks of the season, of my 5 keepers, so of 20 potential starts, so 5 guys over 4 games. So of the 20 potential starts, I had 5. 10. I had like 12 starts of my 5 keepers because Edelman was out for 4 games. Fournette's been out for 2.5 games, and then Gordon was out for 2 games because of being traded to New England. So it was just a hot mess of how my season started. So I think that a lot of my points, I missed out a lot of points just because of shitty luck. I think I can turn it around. I think that my team can come around and make a run at the division. I think it's not going to be a wild card. There's no wild cards are going to come from this division. It's only going to be the division winner.
Dude, if Fournette comes back strong, man, you got a chance.
If Fournette can come,
Fournette and Zeke at running back, come on.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. Or if I can trade Fournette and solidify something up with that trade, then cool. Then I'm in there. But it really comes down to what can I do next week and what happens with Fournette. I'm on thin ice. I can do it. I think this can be a team that can make the playoffs. It's just everyone just needs to play healthy, and I just need a couple things to break my way.
So we'll finish the jumping jacks division with the stat where the all-play record of the first place team in the jumping jacks division is 41-14. All-play record. The second, third, and fourth place all have the exact same record, all-play, at 25-30. So it's just been schedule luck at that point, right? It's just not worked out. So all these teams basically kind of the same points wise. So it's all about who can kind of leverage where they are to advance in the final 2/3 of the season here. Let's jump to the final division here, the sit-ups division, where we get to the Assassins as our first team, finding themselves in first place at 4-3. All play record of 31-24. Nick, we're going to start with you here. When you look at the Assassins, what do you see?
I see. I think it's funny just to look at Watson and think he has a good team.
It's weird.
He
right?
does that. He does that. Like his wide receivers are mediocre at best, but I mean he's able to put together. And his tight end needs some help, but I think that his running back he has solid running backs, and that is what is super carrying him right now. I mean, he can start Eckler. He can start 2 Charger running backs and be fine. Like his number one,
that's true.
His running back 1 and running back 2 are Chargers running backs, and then it's like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna put Saquon Barkley in at my flex. Like,
Yeah.
What the hell? So he's legit. His wide receiver needs a little bit of help, but he'll get there. Like he's doing fine, and that's all that matters. So he's doing fine right now, and that's what you need. So he's good. Real deal.
It's a real deal. Hillers.
Yeah. I mean, it's always surprising to see Watson be good, but it's pretty undeniably good team. You know, I mean,
haven't we said that the last 3 years though? Like we're surprised that Watson is a good team.
He's been on his way up. This is something that's been building for a little while.
So by the way, in the historical owner history, he's at a 484 owner. So
this is a team that seems like more ascendant than like plummeting downwards, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
And with young, guys. I mean, I don't know if you can call Saquon Barkley a keeper at $60. But maybe you can. You know, I mean, he's doing that good. That it's like a guy like that would probably cost you $60 anyway.
He is
maybe
pretty
you
good.
Maybe you just throw it into your roster. You know,
you get Dalvin Cook for 62 in the draft.
Yeah, and I mean, I unlike some teams that have like some kind of star players, I feel like there's actually room for him to improve his situation with the way some guys on this team are panning out here. Like, I kind of wanted to get out of the Jordan Howard game because Tariq Cohen is a legit contender for that job. I think he does good when he gets the opportunity to do that. That could certainly pan out for him. And you never want to count out some of the guys that he has on his wide receiver core. Right now, they look pretty uninspiring, but it wouldn't surprise me at all to see a better overall season come out of guys like Marvin Jones or Larry Fitzgerald or Allen Robinson. He's got to be disappointed with the way his tight end situation is working when you're talking about Antonio Gates and Jordan Reed, but he can clearly win games without them doing that. And I think he's putting up a good, solid amount of points. I don't see anything about his lineup getting perceptibly worse. And I think that if anything, there's room here for some guys to start breaking out and getting a little bit bigger share of the offense here. So I think he's fine. Real deal for me.
Okay, so I think this is a no Schkapeel team here. I know they're in first place, but you look at the rest of the division; it's pretty strong. So that's one reason where I say that. And he's pretty deep at running back, but man, his wide receivers right now are just a crapshoot. Like, who do you start? How do you know who to start each week? Like, I have no idea how he decides which running backs to start each week on this team.
Spin the wheel.
I mean, it's ridiculous. But man, his running backs, I think he has the best top 2 running backs in the league between Saquon and Gordon. Like, it is, like, that's just put that in the rest of the season. Just lock that in every week. Done. You don't have to worry about that, which is great. And then he's got Eckler for his flex. That's fine. But man, the wide receivers. Also, why is Samaje Perine on this team? I don't understand that. Why is Samaje Perine on a roster? That makes no sense to me. Like, come on, Watson. Come on, make a move, man. It's not going to be the year of Samaje Perine. I promise you that.
Right, no, they've got guys with 50 points on the waivers. So
it's time, man. It's time to give him up. I don't know if that was I don't think he was a Clemson guy, so I feel like you can let him go. But anyway, I'll say no Schkapeel. Deshaun Watson has a slow start, but it looks like he's bouncing back, and I think he's going to be a keeper for another at least 2-3 years maybe if he keeps growing. And maybe if he can make something happen and get another wide receiver or two, this could turn around. But I think he's in first now. But I think Dad Dix and Wigné are coming for him, and I think this is no Schkapeel. So that said, let's jump to the Dad Dix. We're at 4-3. This is our back-to-back champion coming into this year. And we're going to start with Hillers. When you look at Mr. Grimes' team, are you as scared of it as you were in the past?
No, but that's a very high bar. You know what I mean? It's like this team has been very, very scary, and it's still scary. And if anything good happens for him, it's going to be really scary. You know what I mean? If Le'Veon Bell decides to come to work one day, you know that.
Please God no.
This team is going to be a lot scarier than it is. And while obviously the Kamara trade was one that he got the worst end of, look at his receiving core. He's not hurting at all in that with Cooper Kupp and DeAndre Hopkins and Odell Beckham. He is fine. He is fine there. That's not a problem for him. And so I don't see any reason why a team with really good, solid starters and a potential to have, not right now, really good solid. To be honest, he only has one running back that I would consider, week to week startable. But he's getting more than I would have expected out of Javorius Allen. Maybe that continues, but it could change and get a lot better for him. I think this is a real deal team. I think it's a dangerous team that's going to put up consistent points, largely on the back of a deep and impressive wide receiver core, with occasional highlights, from maybe a running back or maybe even as many as two.
All right, so real deal from Hillers. Nick, what do you think?
Oh, it's a real deal. I mean, are you surprised? He's going to get Greg Allen back. Or he's going to get Greg Olsen back.
Yeah.
In the next week or two, and he'll probably get Le'Veon Bell back in the next week or two. So it'll be nice to have something good happen to Grimes and his team.
So let me ask you guys before you move on from Le'Veon Bell. I mean, he's going to get him back, but we don't know what team he's going to be on. And I mean, what would you guys do with Le'Veon Bell if you had him right now and he's sitting there and hasn't done anything? Would you think about trading him, or are you shopping him?
I don't think so. I think I would shop him. Given the structure of our league, I think I would consider shopping him just to see what people would give me for him, to see what's out there. But at $31, he's still a keeper. So like you aren't in a position to move them. Like what's Grimes going to say? Oh well, okay, I'll go ahead and not win it this year, but I'll still have most of my team for next year. Like
I'd be a buyer for Le'Veon Bell if he wanted to shop him around.
Anyone would, yeah. I would.
I think anybody would be, but I mean the question is like, what if he goes like the Jets? I mean, how much does his value take a hit?
No, because Le'Veon's value isn't that he's just like a plotter and that he runs. It's that he can do everything. So it's like, okay, the Jets are going to start using him more as that Bilal Powell role.
Yeah, but the other reason he's good on the Steelers is because Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown, they got the Wi-Fi going. They can go deep, so... whereas Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson, not quite the same.
Yeah. It's going to be a tough trade to make, though, because you're going to want a number one guy. And I don't know who's willing to give up, a number one guy to get him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think the advantage.
I'm my number one guy, but I'm a 2-5 dumpster fire.
Well, the advantage is he finds himself at 4-3, which if you'd have told him that Le'Veon Bell is going to be out for the first 5 weeks of the season, and you'd still be at 4-3,
and the
he'd
Cardinals
be like done.
Bad.
And the Cardinals would be bad, but David Johnson would be service. Like he'd be like, yeah, I'll take it. I mean, if he's sitting there, it's a different story. If he's at 2-5, all of a sudden he's thinking of dealing Le'Veon Bell, right? So I guess I guess you hang on to him based on where he is. So sorry to interrupt you there, Nick, but you were going into a little more detail on this team.
I mean, it's no, like there's nothing really to talk about. Like we've hit everything that there is to say about the team. Like it's a real deal. It'll turn the corner, and like you said, we were if there was a time to pounce on this team to make it not a real deal, it was in the past 4 weeks without Le'Veon Bell, when David Johnson was struggling and when Greg Olsen was out. That was the time to try to build enough of a lead in this division over that team. And unfortunately, just the way things broke, it just didn't happen.
So let me ask you this:
still within striking distance. Yeah.
So you say real deal. I'm gonna agree. I'm not gonna go any more than that. But preseason, he had three he had 3 major keeper running backs, and he chose to get rid of Alvin Kamara instead of getting rid of Le'Veon Bell or David Johnson.
Okay.
If you were him, and I know it's easy to say in hindsight that was a bad choice, but if you were him at that time, trying to put yourself in his shoes back then, which one would you have got rid of?
Come on.
Yeah, with the Ingram situation, I can definitely.
I mean, it's in I think that maybe there would be a case to say get rid of David Johnson, just because my thought would be, and this is my only thing thought about David Johnson is that there's not really that big of a sample size of what he's done. Like, he was great as a rookie, but and then he blew out his ACL, and then it was like, cool, you have one great year.
It wasn't an ACL. No, it was like he broke his elbow or something.
Right, there was something like that. Yeah,
it wasn't. It wasn't. It was like a weird freak thing. It wasn't like an ACL.
He still has an ACL to tear. So
yeah, right. He's got 2 good ACLs he needs to shred.
Yeah, no, but I think that the David Johnson thing is like, it's not that I never bought into the hype of him, but it was that I would rather I would not be taking David Johnson with my first 3 picks if I was in that position, because the body of work wasn't there to support. Just to have that feeling.
Hillers, would you have? Which one would you have dealt of those 3?
Yeah, probably Kamara, and you've already touched on it, because Ingram is going to now be a factor here. And he had touches and
he's not going away.
In the last game when he played, and I think you've gotten a glimpse of what Kamara would be if he was the guy in a workhorse backfield. But I don't think the Saints have any intention of.
Oh, why should they? There was a play last night.
Yes.
And I don't know. There was probably several plays where this happened, but I significantly remember a play last night where they had Ingram in the backfield, Michael Thomas out wide, and they ran Kamara in motion across behind the line of scrimmage, and it was basically like a fake sweep to Kamara, and then a fake handoff to Ingram, and then freaking Michael Thomas is running wide open across the middle, and it's like, who the hell do you cover in this offense? Like, I don't even know how you stop that. It's that offense is terrifying, and it's going to be really good the rest of the way. That said, I actually offered him, thinking Le'Veon Bell was and I say this now, but I have proof. There's a transaction log out there somewhere. I don't know, the commission can see maybe, where I offered him a trade for Le'Veon Bell, thinking that was the guy he would want to deal, just based on age, situation, whatever, price, whatever. I was like, here's a guy I'm willing to give you for Le'Veon. I figured he's the guy you want to get rid of. He said, no, Kamara is the guy I want to get rid of. I would have dealt Le'Veon Bell if I was him.
26, he's over the hill. 26 is over the hill.
Well, compared to the other guys, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I'd be at age and price, yeah. Compared to the other guys, I would have dealt Bell.
Yeah, I think that the body of work and the history comes into play.
Especially considering Roethlisberger might retire after this year, and God knows what happens to the Steelers when when that's an issue. So, anyway, we all say real deal here. It's, we're not going against Grimes until he fails. Right. So,
Cyborg Tony Romo should be worried that in his first game back, Kamara went from 41 points to 7, while Ingram's putting up 21 points in the first game that he's back. That is a spooker.
Yes, and Ingram's going to have great games, don't get me wrong, and Ingram's amazing, but is it enough to carry that team? And I don't know that it is anymore.
Put the frighteners on you.
So, Wigné is our next team at 3-4. You talk about a team that's been unlucky. My God.
Oh, my God.
This poor guy. Let's see. His all-play record currently is 42-13, and he's 3-4. I don't understand. And he's just been one of the most unlucky teams this year. So I'll lead in with that, but we'll go to I don't know who we started with last time. Nick. Me?
Yeah.
All right, we'll go with the good then. Like I said, the all plays here. James Conner. If Le'Veon Bell, he drafted James Conner. I don't know if he drafted him or picked him up. I think he picked him up right before week 1, right? I mean, if Le'Veon Bell gets traded, James Conner turns into a legit starter the rest of the year. I mean, this guy is the guy, which is good because he doesn't have a ton of great running backs. I mean, Deion Lewis is fine, I guess, as a flex. But he did just get Mark Ingram back. This is a team that's only going to get better at running back. I mean, Mark Ingram came back. He's got 1 game. He's got 21 points in his first game. So this running back core got a lot deeper in the last 2 days.
This might be the only team in the league with 5 running backs you could start if you had to.
Yeah, Todd Gurley's going to be the league MVP, so there's that. You say bad, it's the receivers. I mean, and he knows it, and I've been talking to him about it. He knows his receivers are not. They've been underperforming. You know, like you look at the names, they're great, but you look at the points, they're not. They've just been underperforming, and maybe they turn it around, and maybe they, they become what they should be. But you look at Hogan, Evans, and Baldwin, and I say Baldwin, I know he's been hurt, but he came back and he only had one catch for like 7 yards or something. Like, it wasn't great. So those guys
killed by the Rams, though.
Yeah, which means they should throw more, and for some reason they did, and Baldwin didn't get any. So that's the concern there. But and Gronk also. Gronk has underperformed. Like, Gronk is stopping Gronk. So that all said, I'm saying real deal, because you look at the damn all-play record and the points, and he's got Pat Mahomes, for God's sakes, the greatest quarterback I've ever seen on a football field. The guy's ridiculous. And
to see his picture, you're like, really? That guy?
Yeah, he's unstoppable. Like, he can do
Looks
anything
like
he wants.
Bird that lost his way.
He can throw it left-handed.
Yeah, throws left-handed, right-handed. He's got a cannon. He's got touch. He can run. He's the best thing I've ever. Like, he's the best quarterback I've ever seen. His first few weeks. Anyway, going to you, Nick. I think I'm real deal. That's it. So, Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there's nothing. It's just bad luck so far, and you can't go against. For purposes of this podcast, for what we're saying right now, we can't say that this team isn't good, because it clearly is. It's just getting bad luck. So, real deal. And then there's just nothing really else to go into. You've hit on all those points.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I mean, the points against on this team are ridiculous. And the thing that's really scary to me is that there's plenty of potential for guys that are sort of underperforming right now to sort of turn it around in the back half of the season. And there's no reason to think that the guys that are doing well, with the possible exception of James Conner, if Le'Veon Bell comes back, wouldn't continue to do well. Doug Baldwin could very well come back and be like an excellent receiver. Especially with Tampa Bay throwing as much as they do, I think Mike Evans is fine as a number one. And Jordy Nelson in Oakland had a couple of bad weeks to start with, where he didn't get targeted very much, but since then he's been doing fine. So
he's kind of found his place. Yeah,
it looks like this is a team that's actually already killing it on the points and moving up. This is maybe the best bad team, by record, that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And so I'm terrified. I hate that they're in my division, and they're like topping my power rankings. This is a real deal team for me.
Yeah, it's even say Le'Veon Bell comes back next week. All right, okay, right. Fine. I'll start Todd Gurley and Mark Ingram. What?
Right.
Or Jordan Howard or Deion or Deion Lewis. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, this team is this team's legit, and as long as Pat Mahomes keeps performing, if Pat Mahomes falls off, then we got a problem. But
big time.
But yeah, this team's legit, and
if he catches the EFF, we'll talk again. Yeah. But until then,
our final team, the Hillers Boondoggle. You've been waiting for it, everybody. And
if you finally found one team, we can all agree.
We can all agree on. Well, yeah, because we've been pretty all over the place. Hillers Boondoggle at 2-5. They nobody loved this team coming out of the draft, I think. And Hillers, I'm sorry you couldn't make the draft. I don't think that helped anything by any means. And it's not a shot at Dave. It's hard to draft two teams, and he did the best he could. And
he followed the directions.
Absolutely.
And they weren't totally complete. So I mean, he did an excellent job there. No fault to Dave.
Yeah. So anyway, let's start. Nick, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to me, and then Hillers will finish up here. So what do you think about Hillers' team? And maybe more like, I think we all know what we think. Like, but if you were him, what would you be doing?
I think that there's still a couple of assets that are worth trading.
Tell me why I'm terrible.
I think there's still a couple of assets that are worth trading on this team, which is good. And I think that that's kind of what it's going to come down to, is just that piece. Like, it might be even just like stupid pieces where it's like, oh, hey, I need Nyheim Hines just to kind of lock up my 4th running back spot. Like, what can I give Hillers that is somewhat potential keepers or something that someone might want? Like, it's going to put him in a position where, as that trade deadline looms, that he might be in a little bit more of a position of power at the moment than he is right now, just because his team might start to show a little bit more signs of life, and it'll be enough to be like, oh hey, I'm kind of interested in this guy. I'm kind of interested in this guy, and Hillers could say, well, I can roll the dice and say I may or may not keep this person.
The answer
So-
is this guy is AJ Green. That's who this
no,
guy
there's
is.
a couple. No, I mean, there's all right. So AJ Green is clearly someone that he can move. He won't move. He probably won't move Calvin Ridley, but who knows?
I won't.
But I mean,
No.
like,
No,
you're
why
gonna
would
say
he?
that,
It's $1.
No, okay, and that's fine. And then you're gonna say like, okay, Deshaun Jackson is doing pretty well.
Nobody wants Deshaun Jackson.
No, you don't. But what if this isn't a fluke? What if he is able to keep this up for the season and he does average 12 points a game for the rest of the season? Are you gonna say that come week 8, no one's gonna say, oh, maybe I do need Deshaun Jackson?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
I don't think so. See, I think that's it. You're gonna say that,
Hillers, let me know if anybody comes to you wanting Deshaun Jackson, okay?
Well, Deshaun Jackson, not for nothing, would be Nick's number 2 receiver. Right?
No, but seriously, if anybody comes to you and says, "Hey, man, I want Deshaun Jackson. What do you want for him?"
I will send out an alert.
Just let everybody know, okay?
No, but I mean, you get the point though. There's people. This team isn't like the dread. It's just that there could be a couple assets that people are like, oh, hey, maybe I am interested in this. Like, I don't
Okay. I'll say no Schkapeel. I'm assuming Nick said that as well, but I think Hillers has already started accumulating ridiculously cheap. He's got a total salary of $120 right now on his team, which is by far the cheapest. And it's right now it's just a matter of what
loser team is a bargain.
What he can get for AJ Green. Everything must go. You know that like rug store that's in town that's always going out of business. Like this is that team. Yeah. So it's all a matter of like
Hiller's rug store may be next year's team name.
Right. Who can make the best deal for AJ Green at this point? That's really all that matters with this team. Like Hillers, you're completely out on this year, or do you still think there's a chance like the deals you're making might give you a run?
We'll wait to my minority to tell you what I think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, I'm no Schkapeel here. I mean, what I will say is the running back core you've accumulated is really young and really cheap. Which a lot of people look for in the sketchy areas of big cities.
in their labor force.
Right. So guys like
Hiller Sweatshop also on the block for next year's team name.
But no, you look at guys like Kerryon Johnson, Isaiah Crowell, Stephen Ridley, and I didn't realize Isaiah Crowell was only 25 years old. Like that's like I feel like that guy's been around forever. But anyway, Nyheim Hines, who in Frank Reich's system, like they clearly said he's going to be the Darren Sproles of this system, and which in a PPR league, what else could you want? So that's a guy you can definitely build around, I think, and he might not be Le'Veon Bell, but he might be a guy you can build as an RB2 around in the future. So. The bad, I mark good and bad under every team. The bad for you, I said everything about this year, unfortunately, has been bad for you. Now, even going down to Trey Burton, who I thought would be good this year, and I've talked to you about trading for him for a little bit, and even he hasn't really panned out to do anything. So, no Schkapeel, but Hillers, let's go to you. And,
okay, so most all that is right. It's not a good team. I do think you guys were a little bit hard players. Like Nick was saying, Nyheim Hines would be his 4th. Well, he's outperforming all but Ezekiel Elliott on your team by a substantial margin right now. He's good. He's a startable guy, I think, and a Darren Sproles like situation in a PPR league is totally viable. And I'm not traditionally a big Isaiah Crowell believer, but I was kind of sold by what I saw in the game against Denver this last week. I was just like, maybe they will realize that he should be kind of the man in charge there. And at his age and price, I think what you're looking at here is a team that's built on hope that some of these guys pan out. You know what I mean? And I think there's room for guys like Crowell and Hines and Johnson if Detroit ever decides to actually put their best running back in for half the snaps, say, to make an impact and to have a good season. I would actually have a much better record if I'd started an optimal lineup from week to week. But one of the biggest problems about my team is what's the optimal lineup from week to week? I'm always getting surprised by some guy on my bench having like 30, 40 points. But if not prepared for a huge resurgence for this season, I am very comfortable that among the guys I have here, I've got good keepers. I think there's good reason to think Geronimo Allison ends up being a big deal for the Packers. If he'd have been in the last 2 weeks, I think he'd be, competitive as like a receiver that you want to look at. Calvin Ridley, I thought he would be good in his rookie year. Still shocked at his potential production there, and I think in a few years he'll be one of the league's top receivers. So I'll definitely be hanging on to him. I think it's possible that I ruin some people's playoff hopes, but I think it's unlikely that I can get to my own standard of the playoffs, especially considering my division, which is just filled with very scary teams.
Yeah, it's the best division, I think.
Yeah, for sure, except for me. But I mean, I think in other divisions, I would be more worrisome to people there. So no Schkapeel for me, but there is a reason to hope for this team and reason to still be concerned about it if you have to play me later this season.
Sure. Okay. Let's jump to our power rankings and finish this thing out. It's been an hour and a half, but I know it's also been 5 weeks since we've done one of these. So we will start with Hillers on this one. Hillers, take us from 12 to 7, if you can.
Okay. Nitty gritties at the bottom. Followed by... Yeah, I don't like your team, Nick.
Wait, I don't have nitty gritties. Hang on. I messed up. How did I mess up?
Do you have running out of fucks?
I have 2 assassins in there. That's what it is.
Would you put a little work into the podcast, please?
I know.
That's all we ask.
I've slaved over these power rankings.
I'm good.
Okay, so followed by Patty Van Winkle, followed by me, followed by the Duplex, and then TDJ and the Choops.
Wow, we are way different.
Wow, we are way different, yeah. I think.
All right, Nick.
All right, Hillers.
Yeah.
Duplex.
Yep.
Choop.
Oh.
TDJ. Gritties. And Watson.
We're pretty close, except, man, you guys hate the Choops. God damn.
It's not that I hate them. I just think other teams
You hate
really
them.
good.
You hate them so much. Why do you hate them? All right. At 12, I've got Hillers. At 11, I've got Duplex. At 10, I've got Nitty Gritties. At 9, I've got TDJ. And at 8, I've got Assassins. And at 7, I have Cyborg Tony Romo.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
7 and 0 team at 7 in the power rankings. I know.
Wow.
But again, when I do
Great.
power rankings, I look at the team and I say, like,
Where are they?
how do I want to play them right now? And I want to play them right now. I really do. They're in 7th place as far as teams I want to play right now. So
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Hillers.
Okay, up from 6, it would be EBS, followed by Cyborg Tony Romo, Hitman, Assassins, Dad Dix, and Winye.
Wow.
You're all over the place.
EBS, Patty, Winnie, Hitman, Dad Dick, Cyborg. But you made a lot of compelling arguments, Merrill. If I were to redo these right now, I would not have Cyborg number 1. I would have him more towards the middle of the pack. You made a lot of convincing arguments.
Thank you, man. It takes a big man to admit, he's willing to
Don't let it go
reevaluate.
to your head.
He's willing to reevaluate
take
things.
that back
No, I'm not
right
saying
now.
you're wrong. I'm just saying you're willing to reevaluate things. Is all I'm saying.
By the way, I'd be willing to put a book bet for either one of you guys that I do not end up as this season's worst team.
Okay. What do you want to bet?
Let's hear your power rankings. Let's close this out.
Oh, okay. Sorry. At 6, I've got Patty. 5, Dad Dicks. 4, I have the Choops, which is way different than you guys, I know. At 3, I've got EBS, just because Anthony always finds a way to win. He's just a solid owner.
He will find a way.
At 2, Hitman, and at 1, I've got the Winnie.
All right.
That's going to do it for the podcast. Do we want to do our board bet now? Hillers, you're
Sure. Yeah,
Nick,
I'm confident.
Nick and I
want?
think you're going to finish dead last. We've
I
already bet on
disagree.
Drink Bitch for the podcast, or for the draft. What else do we have?
I don't know. I'm pretty confident.
Puppet Show.
Sure, puppet show.
All right. So if we win, you have to do a solo puppet show. If you win, Nick and I have to do a co-op puppet show.
Right. Call puppet show. Describing the season or the league or off-season.
No,
events.
we'll decide what the puppet show is about. Don't tell us what our puppet
Okay,
show
well,
is about.
it can't be slamming my team.
Yeah, it can be whatever we want it to be. You can't tell us what it is or isn't about.
Don't-
No.
yeah,
Forbidden
no.
content.
We have
No.
artistic
If I beat-
freedom on this puppet show.
If I beat you in the bet,
This is America, for God's sakes.
Yeah, you can't tell me what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, this
Fair
is
enough.
not North Korea, Kim Jong Un.
Good.
But
Right.
yeah, so that'll be it. Put it in the book, Anthony.
Put it in the book.
And all right, thanks for hanging out, guys. We'll
You'll rue the day.
we'll
You'll
talk to you
both
guys
rue.
later. Let's jump over to the other Discord chat, guys. See you.
All right.
Yo.
Yo.
Yo, man.
Pretty solid, I
Yeah,
thought.
that took
Not
forever.
bad.